Every decision comes at a price. The rules show no mercy. Failure is never forgiven. Only the survivors are honored. Welcome to WildVerse, where we explore the quietest yet most ferocious battles in the kingdom of nature. On the Masai Mara, a lioness has begun the first hunt of the day. This is a life or death moment as she searches for food. A battle-hardened lioness stalks with patience and caution, lifting each paw in silence as she inches closer to her target. The lioness locks her gaze onto a wildebeest grazing ahead, completely unaware of the danger closing in. Using the fading light as a weapon of camouflage to blind the prey, the lioness gently, silently, inch by inch, tightens the noose. The wildebeest remains utterly off guard. Not the slightest hint that the lioness's closing trap is tightening around it. When the distance is close enough, the lioness suddenly erupts with explosive speed. The lioness launches from the tall grass claws, slamming down on the prey, and the hunt ends swiftly. These elite tactics are not acquired by chance. The success of a life or death hunt on the unforgiving Savanna does not come merely from superior physical strength or razor-sharp claws, but from something far more important. It is the result of a finely crafted hunting strategy. Across these vast, peril-ridden wild grasslands, every predator possesses its own unique weapon. Speed, stealth, bite force, intelligence, but only one species relies on teamwork, and it must constantly face a ruthless challenge. The moment the faintest trace of fresh blood drifts through the savanna wind, it instantly alerts and awakens the most cunning, opportunistic minds in all of nature. Spotted hyenas do not arrive to scavenge rotting carcasses. They stride in with a demeanor full of ferocity and defiance, ready to fight to the bitter end, to reclaim the kingdom of power that was always rightfully theirs. When the wildebeest migration floods in, that is when paradise begins for the spotted hyena. But before the battles over prey, with lions erupt. The world inside their dens already conceals social rules of extraordinary complexity, sophistication, and brutality. Entirely unlike many other species, spotted hyena cubs are born with their eyes already open and teeth razor sharp. Their complex social system is organized and governed under an extremely strict and immutable matriarchal regime. The females are always larger, stronger, and always the victors. Upon reaching adulthood, the females completely dominate and control every activity of the entire clan. While other predators on these vast plains rely on superior muscular strength or cunning collective stalking tactics, another born killer is quietly preparing for a hunt with the ultimate weapon, entirely different and supremely lethal: pure speed. That is the cheetah, its golden eyes locked onto a herd of wildebeest grazing ahead. A deathly silence engulfs the space as the final approach, the most dramatic preparatory phase of this life or death hunt, officially begins. The target has been identified: a young, small, and vulnerable wildebeest calf wandering carelessly beside its battle-hardened mother. Suddenly, like a bolt of lightning tearing through the stillness, the cheetah launches like an arrow at a top speed of up to 70 miles per hour. To achieve this unimaginable velocity, the cheetah possesses claws that grip the parched ground with absolute precision, while maintaining perfect balance even when executing sudden, razor-sharp turns at extreme speed. A breathtaking, supremely dramatic chase begins to unfold across the vast, boundless expanse of the savanna. Sensing the danger bearing down, the wildebeest mothers immediately surge forward, desperately trying to cut across and block the cheetah's path to protect the calf. The young wildebeest calf panics and bursts into a desperate sprint. The cheetah is right behind its spine, coiling like a spring, maintaining a suffocating distance. Finally, under the unbearable pressure and the predator's superior speed, the young wildebeest calf collapses. Despite expending enormous energy on this explosive sprint, the cheetah still has enough strength to lock down its prey, completing one of the most spectacular chases. On this very same vast savanna riddled with high-speed pursuits, another solitary predator chooses a completely opposite survival strategy, the art of absolute invisibility. A leopard lies concealed on a high branch, ready to hunt at any moment. Below on the ground, a herd of impala leisurely drifts closer to the kill zone, utterly oblivious to the unimaginable danger lurking directly overhead. Without a single sound, without a single warning, the leopard slowly and meticulously adjusts its position. The coat with its distinctive rosette spots is not merely the leopard's proud emblem, it is a flawless optical camouflage. It deftly shifts step by gentle step along the branch, maneuvering into the most perfect ambush position. Although this height grants an absolute vantage point, it also carries enormous risk if the leap misses its mark. But when facing hunger, the female leopard still accepts the gamble. She patiently holds her breath, coiling tight. Cold, piercing eyes lock onto the target, an unsuspecting impala, head down, nibbling on tender shoots below. The leopard plunges straight down from the high branch, slicing through the air like an arrow. The strike erupts in the thicket, unleashing chaos. The leopard swiftly locks down the prey before the herd of impala can comprehend what just happened. To silence every cry for help so as not to alert the larger, rival scavengers lurking nearby. Stretched across this vast, peril-ridden savanna, three apex predators, the lioness, the spotted hyena, the leopard, share the same plains but never share their strategies. Each carves out its own unique path to survival. And yet on those very grasslands, there exists a small figure bearing the title of the most astonishingly efficient hunter, surpassing them all. The serval cat weighs 18 to 40 pounds. Yet its hunting success rate is 49 to 62%. On most days, its menu consists of small rodents, hiding beneath the grass or unsuspecting birds. But today, amid the sweltering heat of the savanna, it has decided to target something entirely different and fraught with danger: a snake. The moment it detects the enemy, the snake immediately gapes its mouth wide, rears its head high, and lunges to strike, causing the cat to leap back in alarm to dodge. Possessing the longest hind legs relative to body size in the entire cat family, the serval has the ability to spring vertically from a standstill. This extraordinary muscular power is normally used to snatch birds in mid-flight. But in this sudden life or death battle, that unique leaping skill has now become an invisible yet absolutely perfect life-saving shield. It allows the serval to nimbly dodge the venomous strikes within the thinnest, most breathtaking fraction of a second. Refusing to yield, the snake repeatedly rears up, hissing with terrifying, lethal threats. Realizing a quick kill is impossible, the serval shifts tactics, circling and harassing to exhaust the snake. On this harsh, untamed savanna, from terrifying wind-splitting speed to the art of flawless invisibility, to pinpoint precision pounces, each apex predator has brilliantly proven the unmatched power of its own signature survival weapon. But all must yield to a momentous event about to unfold at the water's edge. A Nile crocodile is slowly crawling ashore. For 3 grueling months, the mother crocodile has lain motionless on guard, ignoring her own gnawing hunger, patiently protecting her nest of eggs day and night from every threat. Few realize that the fate of these tiny lives has been entirely determined by the heat of the sand. But the peril-laden ground is no safe haven. She must carry her newly hatched young down to the water. And her solution is truly extraordinary. Beneath that fence of razor-sharp fangs, the mother crocodile carefully opens her massive jaws, ever so gently gathering each tiny hatchling inside, transforming the most feared and deadly maw in all the riverlands into the softest, most secure cradle to shelter her young. On the savanna, the crocodile is the embodiment of absolute terror, but here on the riverbank, she is the embodiment of the greatest protection. However, beneath the harsh skies of the wild, there is no room for even the briefest moment of negligence. While the mother crocodile is busy ferrying the first hatchlings to the water, the remaining unhatched eggs in the nest become more vulnerable than ever. From within the brush, Cold, cunning eyes have been silently tracking every move. The owners of those hungry gazes are Nile monitor lizards. They are not only masterful divers, but also Africa's most expert and devious nest raiders. Fully understanding the devastating power of the crocodile's jaws, the monitors have devised and executed a perfectly coordinated heist. One brazenly crawls out in front to create a diversion. The mother crocodile's protective instinct flares, and she immediately charges after the provocateur. That is exactly what they were waiting for. The second monitor, already hidden in the brush, darts straight for the nest. With lightning speed, it snatches an unhatched egg and vanishes into the dense foliage before the mother crocodile realizes she has been duped. This flawless distraction tactic, without a single wasted movement, is no random coincidence or stroke of luck. Beneath their somewhat ungainly appearance, Nile monitors actually possess one of the sharpest intellects in the entire reptile kingdom. This allows them to memorize the aggressive behavior of crocodiles and exploit that very weakness to breach a defense that seemed utterly impregnable. Although the monitor's diet is highly varied, these nutrient-rich crocodile eggs are always a worthy prize for such a risky operation. Along the shallow waters, basking under the sun, a tall, slender silhouette moves at a deliberate pace. Each gentle footstep carries a beauty of regal majesty, proud elegance, and profound stillness amid the wild landscape. Known as the saddle-billed stork, this creature possesses a red and black bill crowned with a distinctive golden saddle-shaped shield. This magnificent and unique appearance has made it one of the most striking water birds in all of Africa. This bird's prey hunting technique is not simply survival instinct. It has been elevated to the pinnacle of infinite patience. Yet in the ever-shifting world of nature, sometimes mere motionless stillness alone is not quite enough to seize a wily target. At this very moment, a small fish below has unwittingly drifted into the stork's keen line of sight. In a flash, a strike plunges down with absolute flawless precision. The bill clamps tight around the fish, thrashing in desperate futility. This long and immensely powerful bill is not merely a grasping tool. Its razor-sharp edges function like a hydraulic vice. Allowing the saddle-billed stalk to generate an enormous clamping force to grip even the most slippery fish, completely eliminating any chance of escape beneath the murky water. After successfully subduing its target, the saddle-billed stalk raises its head high, deftly flicking the fish deep into its throat and swallowing it whole in just a few beats. It is precisely this masterful hunting skill that helps them maintain the delicate balance of the entire aquatic ecosystem here. But the saddle-billed stork is not the only one hunting fish, and the one soaring above has not come to cooperate. The African fish eagle, possessing a wingspan of 6 to 8 feet, in this species, the females are typically far larger than the males. Yet, regardless of gender, every one of them wears a fierce, rugged beauty, full of commanding authority, entirely worthy of their title as an eternal wild icon of the sun-drenched continent. The African fish eagle stands proudly atop the treetop. Its eyes sweep the water's surface, waiting for the careless flash of a fish. From above, they possess an extraordinary visual range that neutralizes the refraction of the water's surface, allowing them to lock onto the true position of prey lying deep beneath the waves. The instant opportunity appears, the African fish eagle bursts into flight, spreading its wings and gliding low across the vast lake. The dive legs thrust straight out ahead to spear the fish just beneath the surface. To conquer the slippery scales of underwater prey, the soles of the African fish eagle's feet, combined with its sharply curved talons, grip tight. Completely eliminating any chance of the fish escaping, those legs refuse to release the prize as the eagle beats its wings furiously, hoisting the catch into the air. And at last, the proud victor slowly returns to its familiar treetop perch with its hard-won trophy. The African fish eagle is both a hunter and a living indicator of the health of the entire aquatic ecosystem. As the shadow of the African fish eagle disappears behind the treetops along the waterbank, the space seems to settle into a brief calm. However, in the distance, across the vast wind-swept grasslands, another figure is striding with majestic authority, commanding the entire open expanse. It is the African ostrich. The African ostrich, the largest and heaviest bird still in existence. Despite possessing an appearance that seems gentle and composed, the African ostrich is, in reality, a remarkably flexible omnivore with astonishing survival capabilities. Amid the heat, the African ostrich makes optimal use of the sparse vegetation. Their diet is extremely diverse. They consume leaves, seeds, and even small insects to sustain life, and can survive for many consecutive days without drinking water directly. On the ground below, a pair of African ostriches is carefully guarding their nest of eggs. To protect these precious eggs from nest raiders, the African ostrich employs a flawless camouflage strategy. The female, with her pale grey plumage, incubates the eggs during the day to blend seamlessly with the sandy earth. While the male, cloaked in jet black feathers, takes over the duty when nightfall descends. The steadfast endurance and extraordinary adaptability of the African ostrich adds yet another stroke of vibrant tranquility to the canvas. If the majestic beauty of the African ostrich paints a scene of serenity across the windswept expanse, then another giant defines its own mettle through stillness, in a demeanor that is the complete opposite. It is the white rhinoceros, a rare, ancient fragment still surviving on this land. The white rhinoceros is among the most gentle and tranquil herbivores in the wild kingdom. Its iconic weapon is the great horn rising from its snout. Unlike other rhinoceros species, the white rhinoceros possesses a wide, square-shaped lip that functions as a perfect natural grazing machine. They lower their massive heads, diligently gathering blades of grass, savoring every unhurried rhythm of life in absolute peace. But under the blazing African sun, the grey skin that appears to be the white rhinoceros's indestructible armor is in fact highly vulnerable to ultraviolet rays and insect bites. To solve this problem, nature has taught the white rhinoceros to seek out muddy wallows at the water's edge for a daily ritual of immersive relaxation. 'Cause, 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 'cause Once ashore, the thick layer of mud dries under the sun and transforms into a magnificent natural sunscreen and cooling armor for the white rhinoceros. During rest, white rhinoceroses are frequently accompanied by tiny companions, oxpecker birds, clinging tightly to their mud-caked backs. These little birds help the white rhinoceros clean stubborn parasites hiding within the folds of its skin. Despite possessing extremely poor eyesight, the white rhinoceros is compensated with extraordinarily keen senses of smell and hearing to detect even the most subtle shifts in its surroundings. The stoic presence of the white rhinoceros brings a rare moment of serene stillness to the heart of the sun-scorched savanna. In another hidden corner, yet another brutal survival battle is poised to erupt. Quick as a bolt of lightning, a black-backed jackal, with astonishing agility, launches itself through the shallow water. A flock of doves, heads down and absorbed in drinking to quench their thirst, is suddenly thrown into utter panic by the ambush. With a spectacular lunge, the jackal seizes the weakest bird. This is not a predator that relies on brute force, but on split-second calculation. Though the dove escapes the first snap, the pursuit is far from over. The jackal continues to hunt, tracking every panicked wingbeat of the flock. A single moment of hesitation from one bird, and the hunter seizes its golden opportunity. The shrinking waterhole tightens under the heat, turning this place into the perfect trap. From the distance, a flock of guinea fowl cautiously approaches. The competition for mates has stripped them of their full vigilance. And once again, that lapse of attention comes at a heavy cost. The jackal rockets upward, using wind-splitting speed to snatch a guinea fowl right out of the air. This trophy is a well-earned reward for a masterful ambush specialist. But that prize is not for the jackal alone. Nearby, among scattered shallow burrows, a black-backed jackal family is waiting. The pups, survival instincts surging, eagerly jostle for a share of the prey. The entire family divides the food, sheltering one another. It becomes clear that whether playing the role of a cold, ruthless killer stalking alone beside the shallow waters, or transforming into devoted, selfless parents for their young, The black-backed jackal always proves its extraordinary resilience. Day after day, they find every possible way to survive, while ceaselessly passing down and sharpening the most vital survival skills for future generations, so they may proudly overcome every harsh challenge of the boundless African savanna. But on the savanna, strength and speed alone do not decide everything. There is one species that wields an entirely different weapon: intelligence and courage. The olive baboon is struggling to find food. In the midst of this hardship, a tantalizing sound rings out. Following the buzzing, it discovers a beehive truly a sweet treasure trove, brimming with energy, yet simultaneously concealing thousands of deadly stingers ready to punish any intruder. The baboon peers down cautiously, a priceless reward, accompanied by the threat of thousands of venom-tipped needles. Without a moment's hesitation, the baboon tears open the hive, confronting the fury of an entire swarm of ferocious African honeybees. The bees immediately counterattack, swarming and stinging the intruder. Defying the searing pain of every sting, the baboon determinedly thrusts its hand deep into the earth, ripping out chunk after chunk of golden, glistening honeycomb. Thanks to sheer reckless audacity, combined with its natural armor, thick skin, and a dense coat of fur that shields against some of the damage, this cunning hunter ultimately claims its prize. A brief battle where intelligence and tenacity triumph over the instinct of fear. The baboon quickly retreats, carrying away a slab of honeycomb dripping with sweet nectar. It devours the reward ravenously, though occasionally still swatting away the last stubborn bees that refuse to give up. If the baboon's boldness and tenacity in confronting the bee swarm brought a burst of chaos, then, across the open expanse of the savanna, a scene of serenity and grandeur unfolds. It is the Kori bustard, the embodiment of unparalleled patience and composure on the African savanna. The Kori bustard shows no haste. It takes slow, rhythmic strides, supremely unhurried, radiating an air of noble elegance. While moving, Its keen eyes continuously scan the dense grass carpet, hunting for nourishment to sustain its body. To enhance its foraging efficiency, the Kori bustard often engages in a fascinating and clever symbiotic habit with the lilac-breasted roller. Of course, life on the ground is riddled with dangers, compelling the Kori bustard to maintain the highest vigilance against even the faintest sound in its surroundings. Yet the way it confronts mortal threats is truly extraordinary. When it detects danger from afar rather than panicking into energy-draining flight. The Kori bustard prefers to use its powerful legs to quietly stride away and disappear. But perhaps the most glorious and magnificent moment for this creature arrives when the breeding season knocks under the brilliant sun. The male Kori bustards perform a courtship ritual of breathtaking splendor and pride. They inflate the snowy white throat plumage, fan their tail feathers upright, and stride with regal authority to capture the attention of the females. The proud and composed presence of the Kori bustard in broad daylight is vivid proof that. Even in a land teeming with carnivorous killers, slow adaptation and harmonious coexistence can forge an enduring, dignified standing over time. And if the proud stillness of the Kori bustard weaves a tranquil brushstroke across the windswept savanna, then, stepping beyond the sun-drenched grasslands, nature leads us before the countenance of another gentle sage. The common eland, a creature bearing an appearance of immense majesty and commanding power in the wild kingdom. The common eland possesses a stature rivaling the largest wild beasts and livestock of the savanna. Despite its massive size and superior physical strength, this animal chooses an extraordinarily peaceful, plant-based way of life. The most striking feature on its body is the pair of tightly spiraled, sturdy, straight horns crowning its head. A remarkable evolutionary trait that helps them establish dominance and defend against enemies never to attack their own kind. The diet of the common eland is highly diverse. It includes grasses, thorny bush leaves, and even tubers. It is precisely their ability to extract every last drop of moisture from the sparse vegetation of the savanna. That allows the common eland to endure through the long months of scorching drought without depending entirely on surface water. During the peak hours of daytime heat, they often gather beneath the thin shade of tree canopies to rest and quietly ruminate. The gentle nature of the common eland allows them to effortlessly share living space with many other herbivore species. The young are sheltered by the entire herd at the safest center. They play under the strict supervision of experienced adults. The eland's composure, combined with its sharp natural vigilance, provides an absolute sense of security even to the smaller creatures sharing the same environment. The towering, imposing, yet profoundly peaceful presence of the common eland is a bold, philosophical declaration from nature itself. Proving that the pinnacle of power sometimes need not be expressed through claws or violence, but resides in steadfast resolve and the harmonious coexistence with all living things. Each creature has proven its own unique survival strength on the same wild savanna. From the brutality of high-speed pursuits, the art of stealth ambushes, to the patient stillness of gentle giants and wise sages. In this wild kingdom, all creatures are bound to a ruthless cycle of life and death, where the rules show absolutely no mercy. Every decision on the ground or beside the shallow waters comes at its price. The line between becoming the victor or becoming the prize is sometimes decided by a single moment of carelessness. Dusk gradually descends upon the kingdom of Masai Mara, temporarily closing the quietest yet most ferocious battles of the day. But tomorrow, when the dawn light brushes across the golden grass tips, all living things will awaken once more to continue the unending cycle of evolution. For on this boundless savanna, failure is never forgiven, and only the most resilient survivors are honored. Thank you for joining WildVerse to witness the wonders and the brutality of the natural world. We look forward to seeing you on the next spectacular expedition. The lioness. Not the magnificent maned male lounging in the shade, the female is the true hunter of the pride. Males defend territory and fend off rivals. Females feed the family. Three females lie in ambush, bodies low and motionless, arranged in a precise crescent arc. One blocks the forward escape, two sweep the flanks. A coordinated tactic honed over millions of years of evolutionary refinement. "300 feet away, a herd of zebras grazes in the open, tails flicking lazily at flies. They do not know that death lies crouched in the golden grass, just minutes of desperate running away. Black and white stripes are not decoration. When the herd bolts as one, hundreds of overlapping stripes merge into a dazzling optical illusion, making it nearly impossible for any predator to isolate a single target, judge its speed, or close the distance. The lead stallion lifts its head, ears rotate, nostrils test the wind. A few tense seconds of silence pass, then it returns to grazing, not yet detected. The lioness erupts from the tall grass like a coiled spring released. 50 miles per hour achieved in the first few explosive seconds, maximum velocity from the very first stride. But that burst of speed holds for only a few hundred yards at most. Beyond that narrow window of explosive power, the hunt is already lost. The zebra herd explodes outward. Golden dust blinds the sky. Chaos, but chaos itself, becomes opportunity for the hunter waiting on the other side. The second female cuts across from the flank. The zebra changes direction, charging straight into the third lioness, already in position. The strike connects. The zebra staggers and falls. A contest that lasted barely 5 seconds from ambush to conclusion. A successful kill, but only 2 out of every 10 hunts on the Serengeti end with a meal. The other 8 end in failure, exhaustion, and hunger, the true arithmetic of predation. The lioness does not hunt through individual strength, but through coordinated teamwork. Each member plays a role. Every position is calculated. The law of the open savanna is clear, ancient, and utterly non-negotiable. No individual survives alone. But zebras are not the only species that must run for their lives across the Serengeti plains. Another creature, smaller, frailer, endures through a gift that no other animal on the continent can match. The impala, targeted by nearly every major predator across sub-Saharan Africa. Lions, leopards, wild dogs, spotted hyenas, cheetahs, and even large eagles. Hunted by all of them, yet still thriving in vast numbers. Survival depends on one thing and one thing alone: a state of vigilance that never ceases and never relents, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from birth until the final breath. Eyes positioned on either side of the head provide nearly 360 degrees of vision, leaving almost no blind spot. Ears rotate continuously like biological radar, scanning for sound from every direction. When danger draws near, impalas perform a stotting leap, springing vertically 10 feet into the air, all 4 legs rigid, spine arched, mid-flight, beautiful to the point of surreal. That leap sends a direct signal to the predator. I am strong, I am fast, chasing me is a waste of energy. Choose a weaker target. Reflexes fire within milliseconds of hearing an alarm call from any member of the herd. The entire group scatters in every direction, forcing the predator to commit to only one. The impala possesses neither the power of a buffalo nor the size of an eland, but it survives by remaining perpetually ready to flee, much like the caribou of Alaska, thriving not through individual strength, but through the herd and the shield of collective vigilance. But Africa's most successful predator is not the lion, nor the cheetah, nor the leopard. It is the African wild dog, the painted wolf. An 80% hunting success rate, 4 times higher than that of lions, and unmatched by any large terrestrial predator. A statistic that gives any biologist pause. The secret lies in a pack structure unlike any other in the predator world, fiercely democratic, rigorously disciplined, and bound by absolute, unwavering loyalty to every member. Before every hunt, the pack votes by sneezing. Once enough sneezes are counted, the entire pack moves out. The most primitive democracy on Earth. On the chase, they employ relay tactics. Members take turns leading the pursuit. No individual exhausts itself because no single dog bears the full distance. Sustaining 60 miles per hour over long stretches, prey always tires before the hunters do. No ambush required, no element of surprise, only superior endurance. After a kill, wild dogs share the meal equally with the entire pack without hierarchy or distinction. The sick, the elderly, the young pups that stayed behind at the den, every single one eats. No member is ever abandoned or left behind. Wolves in Alaska also hunt as a coordinated pack, howl across frozen valleys to locate one another each night, and share every kill with the entire family group. The same fundamental survival principle governs both, but at minus 40 degrees instead of plus 40. Whether under the scorching midday sun of the Serengeti or amid the frozen vastness of the Arctic Circle, the fundamental rules of survival never change. Adapt, cooperate, endure, or vanish forever. There is no third option. But in Alaska, the cold introduces an entirely new dimension of hardship, one that the sun-drenched African savanna never possesses. In this frozen world, the cold does not merely kill the prey, it kills the victor as well. Alaska. More than 600,000 square miles of untamed wilderness, twice the size of France, stretching from volcanic peaks to frozen tundra. In winter, darkness stretches 20 hours a day. swallowing everything into an impenetrable black that seems to absorb sound itself. Snow piles chest deep on a grown adult. Cold that does not merely chill, but pierces through skin, through muscle, into the marrow of bone itself. Temperatures plunge to minus 40 degrees F without wind, and when the wind arrives, the wind chill drops to minus 76. Cold here is not a threat, it is the law. And from deep within the boreal forest, strange clicking sounds echo steady, rhythmic, like a clock ticking in the darkness. Woodland caribou. Every deliberate footstep produces a distinctive clicking sound tendon sliding over sesamoid bones deep inside the hoof structure, creating a biological metronome that no other species on Earth possesses. In blinding, howling blizzards when visibility drops to absolute zero, that rhythmic clicking becomes the only lifeline, the sole acoustic thread, keeping a herd of hundreds from scattering and perishing, alone in the featureless white void. Hooves that are broad, concave, and uniquely adapted to function like natural snowshoes, distributing body weight across soft powder where any pursuing predator would immediately sink hip deep. The forces of natural selection have equipped the caribou with every conceivable tool needed to survive the most punishing cold anywhere on the planet. In winter, the foot pads harden and shrink, while dense fur grows between the toes, transforming every step into a stride cushioned by natural insulation. They travel single file through deep snow. The leader breaks trail, each follower stepping precisely into the same tracks, not a fraction off. Every step that conserves energy is another precious second of survival purchased from the searing, unforgiving cold of the Alaskan interior. When hunger strikes, caribou use their hooves to crater through deep snow, a behavior biologists call cratering to reach Cladonia lichen, virtually the only food source surviving beneath the white blanket. A single determined caribou can dig through more than 3 feet of compacted snow to uncover a meal burning precious calories to earn just barely enough to replace them. The coat is a masterwork of biological engineering refined across ice ages. Each outer guard hair is entirely hollow, trapping pockets of still air inside to create natural insulation, while simultaneously providing enough buoyancy to keep the animal afloat when swimming across swift spring rivers. The true marvel lies deep within the nasal cavity. Nasoturbinal bones intricately scrolled structures warm air from minus 40 degrees to near body temperature in less than a single breath. Caribou do not flee the Alaskan winter. They have evolved over millions of years to become an inseparable part of it. Migrating nearly 5,000 miles round-trip each year, in vast, thundering herds, the longest overland migration of any terrestrial animal on Earth, from the shelter of boreal forest in winter to the open Arctic coastal plain in summer. That passage is not merely a test of endurance, but a trial of fate. Every river to cross, every ice field to traverse, could be the final one. But along that endless trail, not a single step is safe. In the shadows of the boreal forest, golden eyes have been tracking them for days. And with each passing hour, they are closing in patient shadows, tightening an invisible noose. Gray wolves, packs averaging 6 to 7 in Alaska, though some reach 12. They follow the caribou for days without striking. Not from any lack of strength or hunger, but from a hard-earned excess of experience. A mistimed attack in these conditions means squandering irreplaceable energy reserves in the grip of extreme cold. The wolf is a coursing predator, a pursuit hunter built for patience over distance. The strategy is never sudden ambush, but methodical, tireless observation, assessing each individual animal in the herd, reading gait and posture, and waiting for the unmistakable signal of weakness to reveal itself. An old animal falling behind the herd. A sick one stumbling. A juvenile straying too far. Those are the true targets. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the weakest, the slowest, the one already carrying signs of decline. Covering more than 100 miles a day through deep snow, traveling single file, the lead wolf breaking trail, those behind stepping into the same tracks to conserve energy using the very tactic of their prey. Hunter and hunted share the same survival technique to cross the snow. The cruelest irony of the Alaskan winter, two enemies bound by the same secret of survival. The signal arrives. A caribou limping something wrong with its hind leg. In an instant, the wolf pack shifts from a leisurely walk into a full charge. The chase unfolds across deep snow. The wolves drive their quarry off the pack trail the herd has created, where chest-deep powder becomes a death trap for any animal that strays. Most wolf hunts end in failure, only about 10% succeed. 9 times hungry to earn one meal. But today, the caribou collapses into the snow. The pristine white snow turns deep crimson. Clouds of white breath rise from the steaming kill into the cutting cold life surrendered, hunger briefly satisfied. By consistently targeting only the weakest, the injured, and the failing, wolves perform an essential ecological service, keeping caribou populations genetically healthy across countless generations. The predator is not the enemy of the herd, but rather nature's most rigorous and unforgiving inspector. Yellowstone proved this beyond doubt. When wolves were reintroduced in 1995, the entire ecosystem recovered in a cascade of chain reactions. Elk altered their grazing habits and movement patterns under renewed predation pressure. Aspen and willow saplings regrew along exposed riverbanks. Shorelines stabilized as root systems anchored eroding soil. Beavers returned to build dams in newly recovered waterways. When the pack finishes eating, a howl rises through the night. Carrying more than 10 miles in the still, frozen air of an Arctic night, the loneliest and most haunting sound in the wild. A summons calling stragglers home, a warning marking territory, and a bond reminding every member that in this cold, survival belongs only to those who stay together. But wolves are not the only hunters active during Alaska's long winter nights. Another stalks in deeper silence, with greater precision and deadlier intent. The snowy owl, a wingspan stretching nearly 5 feet unfurling in the darkness. Plumage of pure white melting into snow, flawless camouflage, where everything is blank and white. The leading edge of each flight feather bears microscopic comb-like serrations, disrupting airflow and eliminating all sound. Flight in absolute silence, prey never hears death approaching. Asymmetrical ears, one positioned higher than the other, allow pinpoint location of a lemming moving beneath a thick layer of snow. One plunge, talons piercing through the surface, and the meal concludes in silence. Wolves pursue their quarry through raw endurance and coordinated pack strategy across open ground. Snowy owls ambush through absolute stillness, stealth, and preternatural hearing alone. Two apex winter hunters inhabiting two entirely different worlds of predation. When lemmings are abundant, a single female snowy owl may lay up to 11 eggs in a season, an impressive clutch by any raptor standard. When food runs scarce, she may produce no eggs at all. The fate of every predator is bound inextricably to the fate of its prey. Two populations locked in a perpetual cycle, rising together in years of plenty, crashing together when scarcity returns. Project Snowstorm revealed that major eruptions typically follow successful breeding seasons, too many young owls competing for territory at once. Occasionally, snowy owls drift as far south as southern Canada and the northern United States, startling city dwellers who glimpse a white phantom gliding silently across familiar urban skies. But even the longest winter night in Alaska must eventually end. Light begins to return, minute by minute, day by day. First, a faint pink glow along the horizon, then gradually stretching longer and longer still. River ice fractures with reports that echo like gunfire. Hillside snow begins to melt, tiny streams trickling downward to merge into creeks. And from deep within the frozen earth, inside a pitch-black den carved beneath tangled roots, a mother stirs after 7 months of absolute silence and darkness. A brown bear mother, 7 months in the den without eating, drinking, or excreting. Her body has lost 40% of its weight, so thin that ribs protrude visibly beneath her fur. But she is not alone. 2 4-month-old cubs, each weighing only 5 to 9 pounds, were born in the heart of winter while their mother was still deep in hibernation. The first moments in sunlight, eyes not yet adjusted to the brightness, legs unsteady on unfamiliar ground. The world outside is overwhelmingly vast. The first lesson a mother teaches, overturning small rocks to find insect larvae hiding underneath, the first precious source of protein after months of fasting. But Alaskan spring conceals a lethal danger that the young cubs cannot see, smell, or comprehend. Adult male brown bears, more than twice the size of the mother, may kill cubs to force the female back into breeding conditions sooner. Infanticide, the deliberate killing of unrelated young, is a thoroughly documented behavior among brown bears across North America. Not meaningless cruelty, but a cold, calculated, and genetically driven evolutionary strategy designed to maximize the male's own reproductive success. The mother knows this by instinct. She leads her cubs uphill onto steep slopes, away from the valley floors where large males typically roam. Every step higher is a step farther from danger. But spring is merely the overture to the symphony of summer. The most remarkable phenomenon in all of Alaska is about to unfold, and it begins far beneath the ocean surface. The sea is calling, the rivers are waiting, and millions of creatures are preparing for the greatest pilgrimage of summer. Summer in Alaska arrives like a revelation. The sun barely sets 20 hours of golden light each day, transforming a land once shrouded in months of darkness into an explosion of color and life that defies comprehension. Wildflowers carpet the tundra in waves of purple, yellow, and white. Mosquitoes and midges erupt in astronomical clouds above every marsh and pond. And within this brief window, everything, feeding, breeding, storing, must happen immediately. There is not a single moment to waste. Salmon. Millions upon millions leave the vast Pacific Ocean to swim upstream against punishing currents, navigating hundreds of miles to return to the exact stream where they were born years before. Homing accuracy exceeds 90%, guided by microscopic magnetite crystals embedded in the brain that sense the Earth's magnetic field like an internal compass, combined with an olfactory memory imprinted years earlier with the unique chemical signature of the home stream. But the return demands an irreversible price. The body transforms completely from the moment it leaves salt water. Shimmering silver ocean skin turns blood red. Jaws elongate, growing a hooked protrusion called a kype, a weapon forged for the spawning battles ahead. And, most terrifying of all, the digestive system shuts down. Completely. Permanently. The stomach shrinks. The intestines wither. From the moment it leaves the sea, a salmon will never eat again. Every last reserve of energy is channeled toward reproduction. At last, reaching the gravel bed where they first hatched, females excavate nests with powerful tail sweeps. Males fight with hooked kype jaws, sometimes to the death, for the right to fertilize. Eggs carefully buried beneath gravel, incubating in cold, clear water through the long winter. And then the salmon die, every single one. Without exception, each dies after spawning. But their death is not an ending, it is the beginning of something far greater. Salmon carcasses decompose in water and along banks, releasing nitrogen and phosphorus, precious nutrients carried from the deep ocean, seeping into soil, into water, into the roots of streamside trees. Isotope studies reveal that 10 to 80% of the nitrogen found in Alaskan streamside vegetation originates directly from the decomposing carcasses of spawned-out salmon ocean nutrients feeding inland forests. Sitka spruce growing near salmon streams grow 3 times faster than the same species in areas without salmon. The ocean feeds the river feeds the forest. The forest shelters the streams where the next generation will hatch. Salmon are the bloodstream, connecting every Alaskan ecosystem into a single, breathing, interdependent body. The first to arrive at the salmon feast, the brown bear. The mother bear, from spring thinner now, but both cubs still healthy, reaches the riverbank. This is the second and most critical lesson for the cubs. Catching salmon, the skill upon which winter survival depends. The mother stands in rushing current, 4 legs planted like stone pillars, patiently waiting for a fish to leap above the surface, then snatching it mid-air with her jaws in a fraction of a second with stunning precision. Brown bears consume only the fattiest parts of each fish, the brain, and the lipid-rich skin, then discard the rest. Carcasses are dragged deep into the forest, decomposing beneath large trees, returning nutrients to the soil. Specialized bacteria in the brown bear's gut convert urea into amino acids even during hibernation, maintaining muscle mass through 7 months without food. Every fish caught and consumed now is fuel stockpiled for the long, dark, 7-month sleep ahead. Brown bears are not the only guests at the feast. Bald eagles arrive as well. Along the Chilkat River, 3,000 to 4,000 gather each season, the largest concentration of bald eagles anywhere on Earth. They scavenge carcasses that bears leave on the banks, steal fish from smaller bears, or snatch weakened fish drifting along the river surface. Bears carry fish from the river into the forest, where carcasses decompose hundreds of feet from the bank. Eagles lift remains from the shore to their nests high in spruce canopies. Both are performing the same essential service, transporting nutrients from the ocean deep into the heart of the Alaskan forest. And the tallest, largest Sitka spruce in all of Alaska, growing right beside salmon streams, owe their grandeur to the death of millions of salmon each year. While rivers overflow with summer life, offshore along Alaska's coast, another world operates under its own set of rules. The undisputed sovereign of the open water, larger, more intelligent, and far more dangerous than any predator the land produces. Killer whales. Pods, multi-generational families led by a matriarch over 60 years old, carrying 6 decades of hunting expertise. She is a living, irreplaceable repository of accumulated knowledge, remembering the finest hunting grounds across hundreds of square miles of ocean, the precise migration timing of every prey species, and complex strategies proven successful over decades of experience. When she dies, that knowledge dies with her. Each pod possesses its own dialect, a unique set of vocalizations passed from mother to offspring across generations. 2 pods, separated by just a few dozen miles, may speak entirely different languages. An echolocation system, more adaptive than any man-made sonar operating in complex marine environments. Wave washing the most formidable tactic, the entire pod swims in synchrony to generate waves that sweep prey off ice floes or rocky outcrops. A technique documented by Pittman and Durbin. The target in Alaskan summer waters, the Steller sea lion, the largest member of the eared seal family. Rookeries, breeding colonies, perch on precarious rocky shorelines. A bull Steller weighing nearly a ton guards a harem of more than 20 females around the clock without rest. To hold territory in harem, the bull must fast completely throughout breeding season, up to 2 continuous months without eating. Leaving the rookery to feed even once for even a single hour means losing the entire harem permanently to a waiting rival. Newborn sea lion pups practice swimming in shallow water near shore. Clumsy, slow, unaware of the ocean and the hunters lurking beneath. And transient orcas, killer whale groups specializing in marine mammal prey, patrol the waters just off the rookery. The moment a sea lion enters or exits the water is the moment of greatest vulnerability. A burst of acceleration surging from beneath the dark surface. A strike delivered with devastating, bone-crushing force. Swift, merciless, absolute. There is no second chance in these waters. The rivers belong to the brown bear. The sea belongs to the killer whale. Summer in Alaska divides territory with absolute clarity, each body of water governed by its own code. But killer whales are not the only giants in Alaskan summer waters. Another species, larger, gentler, has also just arrived. The humpback whale. After migrating 5,000 to 8,000 miles from the tropics, they reach Alaska with a single purpose: to eat enough before winter returns. "45 to 56 feet in length, 40 tons in weight, the longest pectoral fins of any whale species, 16 feet. Megaptera great wing." £1,300 of food consumed each day, thousands of times the weight of each tiny morsel of prey. Bubble net feeding, a technique possessed by no other species, swimming in a rising spiral beneath a school of small fish, exhaling bubbles to form a cylindrical net, trapping thousands. Lunging upward in unison, mouths open to full capacity. The tongue forces water through baleen plates, hundreds of pounds of fish retained in each gulp. Songs lasting 20 minutes, audible from 20 miles underwater, the most complex acoustic communication in the animal kingdom. Magnetite in the brain senses magnetic fields, combined with celestial navigation using star positions in the night sky. Humpback and killer whale sharing the same Alaskan Ocean but deploying two diametrically opposed strategies. One filters small fish through bubble nets, the other hunts large mammals with coordinated waves. If the grandeur of Alaska's ocean captivates you as well, share your thoughts in the comments below. But Alaska's summer is brutally brief. As the longest days begin to shorten, as the midnight light slowly fades, another race begins. Autumn's countdown clock pauses for no one, not for bears, not for caribou, not for snowy owls. From the highest snow-capped peaks down to the deepest boreal valleys, all of Alaska is transforming. Autumn has arrived and winter follows close behind. Alaska's vast boreal forest ignites in blazing red, burnished gold, and deep orange millions upon millions of leaves, dying in the most brilliant and defiant display of their brief lives. Autumn in Alaska does not arrive gradually. It descends like a verdict without appeal. And the most urgent racer in the autumn forest is not a large animal at all, but the American black bear, the smallest bear in North America. Far smaller than the brown bear, adult males weighing only 90 to 270 pounds, the black bear compensates for its lack of size with the agility and cunning of a born opportunist. Autumn is the most frenzied, urgent, and consequential season of the entire year. They eat continuously for 16 to 20 hours a day, in a state biologists call hyperphagia, a feeding frenzy in preparation for winter. Serviceberry, blueberry, cranberry, insect larvae dug from rotting logs, every bush, every decaying timber is a refueling station in the race against winter. The biological clock counts down without pause. Each passing day, daylight shrinks by 2 minutes. Each passing night, the temperature drops, a fraction lower than the one before. The goal is stark. Gain more than 30% of body weight, equivalent to 30 to 80 pounds of pure fat before the first snowfall. Failing to store enough fat before entering the den means never waking up. But storing fat is only half the survival equation. The other half, choosing a hibernation den. Insulated enough to retain warmth, but ventilated enough to prevent suffocation, the wrong den could be the last decision ever made. Hidden within every meal is an ecological service few recognize. Enhanced digestion scarifies seeds, promoting germination. Bear scat becomes fertilizer. Seeds are sown across the forest with every wandering step spanning dozens of miles each day. The greatest glutton of autumn turns out to be the most diligent and effective gardener of the entire Alaskan forest. But the black bear never forgets that the brown bear, 3 times its size, competes for the same food sources. Every encounter ends with the black bear retreating. Retreat is not defeat. Black bears eat anything and climb trees, far better the clever small generalist facing off against the specialist of brute force. High above where no trees can grow, where winds howl at 80 miles per hour year-round, the mountain goat of Alaska prepares for winter in its own way. Pristine white fur thickens with each passing day, 2 layers of defense against the extreme cold ahead. Dense undercoat wool traps heat against the skin, Hollow guard hairs form an insulating air barrier growing more than 4 inches thick for winter. But the true weapon lies in the hooves. Each hoof splits into 2 independently moving halves, the outer rim hard as crampons gripping rock, the inner pad soft and flexible as rubber. That combination allows them to traverse vertical cliff faces that would leave even the most experienced mountaineer dizzy looking down. At night, they rest on rock ledges, barely wide enough to hold their bodies a single slip during sleep, and it becomes the final step. Each spring, the bodies of young mountain goats lie scattered at the base of cliff walls, silent evidence that not everyone passes the mountain's first exam. Kids stand steady within minutes of birth and begin climbing rock within hours. Mountain goats are not permitted a childhood because the cliffs never forgive weakness. Autumn brings new dangers stacked upon old ones. Early season ice coats familiar footholds. Avalanche, rockfall, and most terrifying of all, black ice, a killer more silent than any predator. Climate change is rewriting the map of survival. Vegetation creeps higher on mountain slopes, invading open rock zones, granting predators new pathways. A fortress impregnable for millions of years is slowly opening its gates. Mountain goats have no childhood. Cliffs show no mercy. Every step must be absolutely precise. There is no second attempt. Below in the valleys, the entire Alaskan ecosystem shifts into a state of emergency. Winter has become a reality, advancing steadily closer. The season's first snow falls on the highest peaks. Then each day the snow line descends lower, like a sentence being carried out step by step. Caribou begin massing into large herds, preparing for the long trek back to the boreal forest for winter. Behind them, wolf packs track in silence. The predator-prey cycle restarts. The Arctic ground squirrel drops its body temperature to -3 degrees C, the lowest recorded body temperature of any mammal on the planet yet, does not freeze. The line between life and death in Alaska is thinner than the ice on an October lake, and just as fragile. But it is precisely that fragility that creates the most brutal beauty of this land, where every second of life is a triumph. Alaska holds its breath. Every creature has made its preparations. Winter is coming and no force on earth can stop it. But there is one winter that no creature in this story, not the bear, not the wolf, not the whale, was ever evolved to face. An entirely new winter. The winter of climate change, a season no ancestor ever endured, no instinct was ever forged to survive, no adaptation has yet been shaped to withstand. Alaska is warming at a pace 2 to 4 times faster than the global average, one of the most rapidly changing regions on the entire planet. Mean annual temperatures have climbed 3 degrees F in fewer than 50 years. Three degrees sounds insignificant. But where life and death are decided by single degrees, 3 degrees is an entire world turned upside down. Sea ice melts earlier each year and freezes later each season. The polar bear, the most iconic species of the Arctic, is gradually losing the very foundation beneath its feet. Less ice means less time to hunt seals, less food for mothers, and fewer chances for newborn cubs to survive. A downward spiral deepening with every passing year. Polar bear mothers now must swim farther than ever before. The documented record stands at 687 miles of continuous swimming, over 100 hours without rest, through freezing open ocean swells, an unthinkable ordeal endured just to find a single ice sheet large enough to stand on. Permafrost soil, frozen for millennia, is reaching record temperatures. As it thaws, methane releases into the atmosphere a greenhouse gas 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Yukon River salmon have declined to record lows. Fewer salmon means fewer nutrients for the forest, less food for brown bears, fewer eagles along the Chilkat. The ocean-river forest chain, witnessed during summer, is losing links, one by one, irreversibly. Vegetation climbs higher on mountain slopes, shrinking the mountain goat's kingdom and opening pathways for predators into places they have never reached before. Every species in this story now faces an exam that no ancestor has taken in millions of years of evolution. But there is clear hope. Humpback whales, once hunted to the brink of extinction, have recovered strongly following international hunting bans. Undeniable proof that conservation works when humanity truly commits. Alaska does not need saving. Alaska only needs humanity to stop destroying what took millions of years to build. Alaska is not a land of meaningless cruelty. Alaska is the largest laboratory on Earth, where nature ceaselessly tests the ultimate limits of life. Each season poses a different examination. Winter tests patience. Spring tests the instinct to protect. Summer tests, speed and timing. Autumn tests, preparation. Wolves teach that true strength resides in the pack, not the individual. The snowy owl teaches that silence can be the most powerful weapon. Salmon teach that death can be the beginning of new life. And the brown bear mother, fasting 7 months so her cubs might live, teaches that maternal devotion transcends every calculation of survival that nature imposes. Only one question remains. Can these astonishing creatures who have passed millions of tests across millions of years pass the next one? A test that humankind, and humankind alone, has created. Winter returns once more. Darkness descends upon Alaska like a curtain being drawn across the final act. Unbroken cycle of predator and prey, of ice and thaw, never truly ends. Thank you for joining WildVerse on this journey into the wildest land on the planet. We look forward to seeing you in the next chapter. The Savanna of the Masai Mara Reserve is a brutal battlefield of survival. Where the ruthless laws of nature are relentlessly enforced through bloody hunts. At the apex of this complex ecological pyramid, 5 of the most powerful predatory species share absolute dominion across the plains. Lions demonstrate superior strength through their pack hunting formation. Crushing all resistance from large herbivores. Leopards employ flawless stealth skills among the dense canopy of leaves. Transforming the darkness of the woodland into a weapon of deadly surprise attack. Spotted hyenas deploy a relentless pursuit-to-kill strategy with astonishing endurance, draining every ounce of their prey's strength before delivering the decisive bite. African wild dogs coordinate their combat operations with ironclad discipline during pursuits. Forging a hunting machine that operates with extreme efficiency and ruthlessness. Finally, the cheetah has chosen an entirely different evolutionary path by trading raw physical power for terrifying speed. To become the fastest creature on the planet, the cheetah's body has undergone a series of extreme biometric refinements. Sustaining such extreme velocity demands a biological energy supply system operating at capacities far beyond ordinary limits. Despite possessing superior evolved mechanical weaponry, the success rate of each hunt for this wild predator never reaches absolute perfection. The extreme trade-off for speed has severely compromised overall muscular strength, leaving cheetahs entirely outmatched in direct confrontations. Completely unlike countless other predatory species, cheetahs can only sustain their maximum velocity over an extraordinarily brief distance of merely a few hundred yards. On a radiant morning across the Masai Mara plains, an adult cheetah silently lowers its center of gravity, fixing its razor-sharp gaze upon a dense herd of Thomson's gazelles. The cheetah's spotted coat blends seamlessly with the faded yellow of the dry grass, allowing the hunter to skillfully conceal its presence from the vigilant eyes around it. With silent footsteps and intense focus, the cheetah gradually closes the approach distance without alerting a single gazelle on the grassland. The ideal distance for the explosive sprint has been established, the cheetah's muscles coiling to their extreme limit, like a steel spring awaiting the moment to unleash. Suddenly, the cheetah bursts from the concealing grass, igniting a chain of powerful mechanical movements and transforming into a golden blur streaking across the ground. The Thomson's gazelles instantly detect the mortal threat, the entire herd frantically bolting in every direction to confuse the target of their bloodthirsty enemy. The cheetah locks its vision onto a single gazelle, ignoring all surrounding chaos to channel every ounce of energy toward this specific target. The cheetah's flexible spine continuously coils and extends at a terrifying frequency, propelling the pursuit speed to the absolute highest limit in the entire animal kingdom. Claws dig hard into the firm ground, producing sharp, dry sounds as the cheetah trails the gazelle through each tight turn across the uneven grassland terrain. The long tail whips continuously through the air on both sides to maintain perfect balance, helping the hunter adjust its running direction and track every evasive movement of the gazelle. But the gazelle also possesses a remarkable ability to change direction abruptly, continuously creating zigzag trajectories to bleed the powerful kinetic energy of its pursuer. The life or death sprint stretches on for dozens of agonizing seconds. Although the distance between hunter and target has narrowed to mere footsteps, the cheetah still cannot deliver the precise swatting strike to bring down the gazelle. The supreme speed grinds to a halt in the middle of the open grassland, its chest heaving violently to gulp down every breath of oxygen in a desperate attempt to soothe the overwhelming heat overload. A high-speed chase, perfectly engineered by nature, has ultimately ended in complete failure, due solely to the fatal weakness of this species' physiological endurance. The cheetah retreats dejectedly to the shade of a lone tree to recover its strength, waiting once more for another opportunity in the merciless survival game of the African plains. To dominate the vast wild savannas, lions have evolved to possess a body system perfectly engineered for the sole purpose of hunting. Lions are equipped with razor-sharp retractable claws, enabling them to move in absolute silence to approach their prey. As a herd of wildebeest ambles slowly under the scorching sun, a deadly encirclement has been established by these perfect hunting machines. The lionesses, with their sandy gold coats, employ absolute camouflage mastery. Pressing low to the ground and stepping in total silence, thanks to their retractable claws cushioned within fleshy pads. The wind blowing back from the wildebeest herd serves as a heaven-sent advantage, preventing the predator's scent from drifting ahead to give early warning to the targets. And this sudden appearance deliberately creates utter chaos, imposing an overwhelming psychological pressure upon the herbivores. The panic forces the wildebeest herd to frantically flee in the opposite direction, madly stampeding straight into the heart of the trap laid in advance. There, a lioness has been patiently lying in ambush beneath a thorny bush, poised to deliver the final strike from the most advantageous position. When the pursuit distance narrows to under 30 feet, a wildebeest stumbles and loses its footing on the ground. Instantly seizing the golden opportunity, the ambushing lioness launches herself with the full force of her massive musculature concentrated in her two front legs. The colossal mass of the great predator generates a devastating collision momentum that the large target cannot possibly withstand. At the decisive moment, claws like razor blades spring from their fleshy sheaths, hooking deep into the hip of the wildebeest. The annihilating force from the front limbs drags the target's body crashing hard against the ground with a violent impact. The sharp claws pin deep into the prey's hide, completely thwarting every desperate attempt to thrash free by the doomed creature. Without wasting a single second, the predator surges forward over the fallen animal, readying the next instrument of death. The mighty jaws gape to their fullest extent, plunging 3-inch-long fangs straight into the throat of the wildebeest. This ruthless and efficient killing process concludes swiftly within just a few brief minutes. Through cunning group hunting tactics, the lion pride has successfully brought down the enormous prey while minimizing the risk of injury compared to solitary hunting. This collective hunt is a masterclass in tactical excellence, where the power of alliance far exceeds the sum of its individuals. The motionless carcass of the wildebeest on the grass now becomes a vital source of energy, awaiting the other members to approach and share the spoils. While the females serve as the frontline warriors, the male lions shoulder an entirely different life-or-death responsibility of defending the territory and repelling all intruders. The enormous body mass, combined with the thick, luxuriant mane, transforms the male lion into the absolute symbol of power. Yet renders them far too conspicuous to regularly participate in ambush hunts. Instead, they dedicate the majority of their time patrolling along the boundary lines, stretching dozens of miles. Using scent markings to stake an inviolable claim of sovereignty over the land. The majestic presence of a male lion atop a tall termite mound serves as a clear warning to any greedy hyena pack eyeing the fertile territory. Under the midday sun blanketing the savanna, the male lion stretches his powerful neck high, draws a deep breath, and unleashes a thunderous sound wave from the depths of his mighty chest that shakes the very earth and sky. The roar of a male lion is among the most terrifying sounds, with low frequencies capable of traveling over 5 miles through the still and sweltering midday air. Each reverberating roar is not merely a resounding declaration of territorial ownership. It also serves as a locating beacon, announcing its precise position to distant pride members. The masterful division of duties between the hunting artistry of the females and the protective might of the males creates the most powerful social structure in the wild. It is precisely this pinnacle of hunting mechanics, combined with an impenetrable territorial strategy, that has forever inscribed the lion's name upon the throne of dominion across the grasslands of Africa. From atop the dense branches of an ancient tree, the leopard establishes a three-dimensional hunting domain to gain an absolute tactical advantage over the keen-sensed herd of impala approaching below. The coat, bearing asymmetrical dark rosette patterns, functions as a sophisticated optical camouflage network, disrupting reflected light patterns and deceiving the prey's vision. The hunter maintains a state of perfect stillness, using its cold amber eyes to continuously analyze every movement of the impala herd venturing deeper into the ambush zone. Biologically, impala possess superior acceleration capability and extraordinarily acute hearing. Capable of detecting even the faintest sounds from the layer of dry, decaying leaves. To overcome this heightened vigilance, the tactic of attacking directly from a height of 15 feet allows the leopard to completely eliminate the risk of detection from footsteps on the ground. When an impala steps into the most precise targeting position, the leopard's entire muscular system instantly tenses like a steel spring. Without emitting a single warning sound, the spotted assassin plunges straight down through the air with terrifying acceleration, delivering a devastating preemptive strike that shatters the silence. The leopard generates a destructive kinetic force, crashing directly onto the vulnerable back of its victim. The instant it touches down, the sharp, hook-shaped claws immediately embed deep into flesh, locking down the thrashing impala in its hopeless struggle to escape. A lethal bite is driven straight into the throat with extreme swiftness, severing the life-sustaining airflow of the prey in the blink of an eye. However, successfully bringing down the impala is merely the beginning of a chain of grueling physiological and survival challenges that this solitary hunter must confront. The pungent scent of fresh blood spreading through the air acts as a chemical dinner bell, instantly drawing the attention of the ferocious hyena packs lurking nearby. To protect this vital energy source, the leopard is compelled to employ a concealment tactic by hauling the impala carcass up into the lofty tree branches. Simultaneously, the razor-sharp claws pierce straight through the steel-hard bark of the tree trunk, creating secure anchor points to haul the heavy load vertically upward. The leopard demonstrates supreme balance control during the slow but steady climb, despite carrying the cumbersome obstacle. Finally, the lifeless carcass of the impala is delivered into a zone of absolute safety. Gradually ascending away from the perilous ground, and suspended over 30 feet above the savanna surface. The large mass of flesh is carefully draped across a forked branch, firmly secured to prevent it from falling and landing within the covetous sights of ground-dwelling scavengers incapable of climbing. The combination of invisible camouflage, lightning-fast mechanical strikes, and extraordinary muscular power has completely overcome the leopard's physical size disadvantage. The ancient tree branch has now been transformed into an impregnable aerial banquet hall. Where the victor can leisurely savor its hunting prize without needing to remain vigilant against threats from below. In the cool shade, the leopard uses its razor-sharp teeth to rip through the tough hide. Systematically grinding the muscle tissue to optimize nutrient absorption from the impala. The enormous caloric reserves from this intact carcass will fuel the leopard's sustained survival for many consecutive days without needing to undertake another perilous hunt. Directly beneath the ancient tree, a few famished hyenas catch the scent of dripping blood and gaze upward with envious eyes at the treasure dangling beyond their reach in utter futility. The furious growling howls of the hyena pack, rising from the parched ground below, only further elevate the commanding status of the spotted creature, lounging serenely upon its throne of branches. Anatomical survival analysis clearly indicates that no ground-dwelling carnivore possesses the pelvic structure and claws powerful enough to climb up and challenge the leopard's suspended position. By ruthlessly exploiting the vertical dimension of space, the superior survival intelligence of this great cat has transformed the complex terrain into the most impregnable defensive fortress of all. As the afternoon sunlight begins to fade, the dark spotted coat once again demonstrates its peak optical camouflage capability. Allowing the predator to merge completely into the still and silent space. Amid the droning of insects, the silhouette of the three-dimensional assassin seemingly vanishes into the realm of invisibility. The brutal struggle for life and death reflects the power within every slab of solid muscle. From the stealthy stalk to the defense of its prize, the leopard has transcended the limits of terrain to affirm its unrivaled status as a perfect biological killing machine on the savanna. Under the fading twilight of the arid African savanna, The art of hunting reaches its pinnacle of pragmatism through the relentless pursuits of the valiant wild dog. The African wild dog pack deploys a hunting strategy founded upon abundant physical fitness and extraordinary stamina over long pursuit distances. Having clearly identified their target within the impala herd, the hunting party patiently trails at a steady pace, aiming to drain the victim's stamina rather than launching a blitz attack. The wild dog pack coordinates in seamless harmony to create a perfect suffocating encirclement formation. Continuously pressuring and cutting off every escape route for the panicking impala. Under the lingering oppressive heat, the impala's heart pounds furiously as it is forced to continuously exhaust its strength, fleeing from the footsteps that never once slow down behind it. The life or death race stretches on endlessly until the impala collapses from exhaustion. Staggering and crumpling onto the parched ground in utter helplessness before the bloodthirsty pack of predators. In stark contrast to the clean suffocation kill of the lion, the wild dog pack unleashes the most primitive brutality the instant the victim falls upon the grass. The flesh-tearing feast begins while the impala is still conscious. Its agonizing cries are completely drowned out by the horrifying sounds of chewing and swallowing from the wild pack. This method of eating alive is extremely savage, yet serves as a core survival mechanism to consume food as rapidly as possible before other predators discover it. The lightning-fast devouring speed is the wild dog's optimal defensive strategy against the rampant problem of food theft on the savanna. The phenomenon of food robbery, also known as kleptoparasitism, unfolds as a brutal law that reshapes the survival hierarchy of countless wild species. Even the most skilled hunters cannot peacefully enjoy their hard-won spoils. For the stench of blood always attracts the stalking eyes of hordes of hungry predators. Scavenging species, such as vultures and spotted hyenas, constantly lurk, gathering into loud, aggressive mobs. Using numerical superiority to seize the delicious meal. However, the most dreaded risk of losing a kill does not come from the rowdy hyena pack. But from the absolutely authoritative shadow of the massive male lions. In contrast to the collective defensive advantage of wild dogs, solitary hunters like the cheetah are the most wretched victims of this law of theft. A cheetah has just successfully brought down a male Thompson's gazelle after a wind-splitting sprint that drained every last drop of its energy. The lone hunter has barely caught its breath when a spine-chilling signature sound echoes from the nearby bushes. It is the dreaded dinner bell of the spotted hyena, a creature that routinely uses numerical superiority or sheer stubbornness to commandeer a fine meal. With its supremely sensitive nose, the spotted hyena has detected the scent of fresh blood drifting through the air and immediately approaches the target. Making no attempt at stealth, the creature wielding its bone-crushing jaws lumbers forward with an air of overwhelming dominance to intimidate the exhausted hunter. The massive musculature, concentrated in the front quarters of the spotted hyena, creates a menacing downward-sloping gait, pressing in toward the freshly downed prize. The cheetah growls a warning, straining to raise its neck fur on end to appear larger in a desperate bid to protect the hard-earned meal. However, the extreme trade-off for speed has severely compromised overall muscular strength. Leaving the cheetah entirely outmatched in direct confrontations. The spotted hyena nonchalantly bares its fangs in a display of brute force. Ready to use raw primal aggression to rob the prize outright. Facing a relentless and dangerous adversary, the cheetah is forced to make the decision to back down and preserve its life rather than die for a single meal. This bitter concession affirms the brutal truth of the wild, where the law of theft reshapes the survival hierarchy. Claiming the entire gazelle carcass, the hyena savagely rips through the thick hide, ravenously devouring the succulent flesh at a terrifying pace. The supreme jaws of this predator allow it to crush and swallow everything whole. From the toughest sinews to the hardest segments of bone, in no time, the vast majority of the meat has been swept clean until complete satiation. The moment the hyena turns its back and departs. The remaining scraps immediately fall within the sights of scavenging opportunists. Black-backed jackals dart out from the withered grass, nimbly approaching the scene to scrounge the meager remnants left behind. Lacking an imposing physique or devastating bite force, this small predator compensates with cunning and supremely agile survival reflexes. Its characteristically slender, elongated snout allows the jackal to slip easily into the narrowest gaps between the rib cage to strip away the very last scraps of meat. The large upright ears function as a radar surveillance system, continuously scanning the surroundings to be ready to flee if a larger predator happens to return. Their appearance perfectly fills the third tier of the theft pyramid. Where the smallest creatures sustain their lives on the leftovers of the dominant. Yet the jackal's hasty scavenging feast is cut short when another massive cleanup crew begins descending from the sky above. High in the endless blue sky, white-backed vultures begin circling in spiraling patterns to locate the rotting carcass. They appear as the most devoted biological sanitation squad, bearing the duty of cleansing the entire vast expanse of the plains. With their supremely sharp vision, these scavenging birds have observed the entire robbery from the boundless heights above. Their enormous wide wingspans allow vultures to ride the thermal air currents. Maintaining continuous presence without expending any energy on flapping. When one individual dives down, that movement instantly becomes a rallying signal, summoning countless others to share the remains. The vulture flock descends upon the carcass area in a noisy frenzy, crowding into a mob, fighting over every last morsel. They are experts at exploiting remnants, wedging their sharp beaks into the smallest bone crevices to extract the last decaying muscle tissue. The long, featherless neck allows them to freely plunge deep into the hollowed cavity of the carcass without worrying about being matted with reeking blood. By consuming the rotting flesh, the scavenging birds play a pivotal role in preventing the spread of countless diseases in nature. The vulture's stomach is a chemical reactor with extreme acid concentration, powerful enough to dissolve and completely destroy lethal pathogens. This mechanism transforms them into nature's biological incinerators, shouldering the mission of preventing every pandemic across the savanna. Their voracious appetite functions as a natural biological decontamination process, halting the catastrophe of cross-infection across the grasslands. The feeding frenzy of the vulture flock creates piercing shrieks. Reflecting the fierce competition even at the lowest tier of the food chain. Without the presence of these diligent cleanup specialists, the savanna would rapidly transform into a colossal wasteland overflowing with decay and death. Every scrap of rotting meat, sinew, cartilage, and even bone marrow is completely digested to close a perfect nutrient cycle. The white-backed vultures flap their heavy wings, once again soaring into the sky to continue their endless airborne search from above. From the exhausted hunter, to the tyrannical robber, to the cunning scavenger, to the cleanup vultures, all have laid bare the naked brutality of the wild. No waste is tolerated on the savanna. Every gram of energy must circulate through the merciless links of the chain. The kinetic energy of the cheetah's pursuit transforms into the violent feast of the spotted hyena, then becomes essential nourishment for countless species that follow. The interdependence between the kleptoparasitic species and the scavengers is the key to maintaining a closed and sustainable ecosystem. Without the relentless plundering of the hyena, the imbalance in food supply could shatter the existing survival order. The portrait of the wild ecosystem is constantly reshaped hour by hour through confrontations that never reach a resting point. The unforgiving battles over food generate a punishing biological pressure. compelling every wild species to continuously upgrade its survival weaponry. Every second in this place conceals countless unpredictable dangers. Each species proudly plays the role of an essential gear within a complex ecosystem that has been shaped over millions of years. Despite the endless suffering and the wrenching separations of life and death, the eternal wheel of the wild ecosystem shall continue its majestic turning forevermore. Thank you for journeying with WildVerse. Where the natural world still holds countless magnificent stories waiting to be told. If today's story has touched your heart, please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to continue our reunion on the next expedition. Alongside the grim fates that nature has decreed. Millions of hooves drum against the cracked earth, dust rising like the smoke of an ancient battlefield. Ahead, the Mara River churns, and beneath its murky surface, dozens of cold eyes lie open. No one wants to step in first. No one wants to be the offering. But thirst permits no hesitation. An old wildebeest bull, scarred and deeply weathered by seasons, plunges into the current, and as though answering an invisible command, thousands follow, transforming the river's surface into a churning mass of living bodies. The rasp of labored breathing, the violent crash of water, the desperate calls of calves swept away from their mothers. Every passing second places another life upon the scales. Nile crocodiles have waited for precisely this moment. Stretching over 16 feet, weighing nearly 1,650 pounds, they have lain motionless for weeks, patient as stone, silently waiting for the river to deliver its own feast. One lunge, one devastating body roll. The river runs red. Each year, more than 1.5 million wildebeest and 250,000 zebras undertake the single greatest overland migration on Earth across the Serengeti. This is not a wandering search for new territory. This is a pursuit of water. Nothing more, nothing less. Welcome to WildVerse, where we explore the most extraordinary stories the natural world has to offer. The savanna covers nearly 20% of Earth's total land surface and roughly half the African continent. From vast tropical grasslands to sprawling seasonal wetlands, everything operates under the same immutable law. Whoever controls water controls everything. This is the first law of the savanna. Three faces of the savanna: tropical, temperate, and flooded, each harboring a distinct and complex ecosystem. Yet beneath the surface, the same war rages, a war for every last drop of water. But certain creatures have evolved to survive entire months without drinking a single drop. Their secret will reshape how we understand life on the grasslands. To grasp that war, we begin where water still flows in abundance, the ancient Serengeti, as the long-awaited rains return. And there, beneath the canopy of weathered, gnarled acacias, the holders of life and death are already establishing an order of their own. The Serengeti stretches across 12,000 square miles. From the volcanic highlands of Tanzania deep into Kenya's Masai Mara, one of the last pristine ecosystems remaining intact on Earth. When the rains arrive from November, the parched grasslands erupt into life within weeks. Grass grows waist-high, water fills the hollows, and the Serengeti becomes a banquet for more than 70 species of large mammals. One and a half million wildebeest concentrate on the rich southern grasslands alongside 250,000 zebras. This is the single largest gathering of mammals anywhere on the planet. But on the Serengeti, abundance always walks hand in hand with peril. And peril here wears many faces, not all of them visible. Between 3,000 and 3,500 African lions divide territory across the Serengeti Mara ecosystem. They do not claim land, they claim water. A lion pride, typically 10 to 15 individuals, establishes its sphere of influence around the most strategic waterholes. Where there is water, prey will come of its own accord. The lionesses are the primary hunters. They coordinate under the cover of darkness, encircling from multiple angles, exploiting the precise instant prey lowers its head to drink. Patience is their sharpest weapon, and they wield it with lethal precision. At night, when darkness strips prey of its long-range vision, lions become nearly invisible. They approach waterholes from downwind, flatten into the grass, and wait sometimes for hours without the slightest twitch. When prey bows its head to drink, vision obscured, hearing masked by the rush of water the lions strike, the distance from absolute silence to explosive, lethal violence, no more than 3 seconds.
Ah.
6,000 wildebeest fall to lion claws and teeth each year on the Serengeti, yet that figure accounts for less than 0.5% of the total herd. The ecosystem calculates everything with cold precision. Male lions larger in frame, crowned with thick, imposing manes, rarely hunt. Their duty is to defend territory, guard the water source, and ensure no rival males dare trespass. A lion's roar carries up to 5 miles across the open grasslands, a sound that reverberates through the chest of every creature within range. It is not a threat. It is a declaration of sovereignty. This waterhole has an owner. But lions are not the only power contesting the water. Spotted hyenas, the eternal, calculating rivals track every movement of the lion pride with equal patience. A spotted hyena clan can number 60, even 80 individuals, outnumbering any lion pride many times over. And they are not the scavengers that popular myth would have us believe. "60 to 75% of a spotted hyena's diet comes from its own kills. They pursue prey for miles, needing not peak speed but superior endurance. Hyena society follows a strict matriarchal hierarchy. Females dominate entirely. The lowest-ranking daughter of the alpha female still outranks every single adult male in the clan. And their most fearsome weapon, a bite force of 1,100 pounds per square inches, nearly double that of a lion. Those jaws crush bone, crush skull, crush everything that others leave behind. Hyena droppings are chalk white, a telltale signature of calcium from bones digested entirely. Nothing is wasted on the savanna, not even the dead. The eerie, bone-chilling laughter of hyenas rings through the Serengeti night, not an expression of amusement, but a sophisticated communication signal between clan members, each tonal variation carrying a distinct message. As the dry season forces all creatures toward the shrinking waterholes, lions and hyenas clash more frequently. Midnight confrontations, fierce and bloody, erupt around every last remaining pool. "30 hyenas can overwhelm a group of 5 lionesses through numbers, through stamina, through a ceaseless barrage of ear-splitting snarls." On the savanna, power is measured not only by strength, but by who is willing to endure the longest. But one creature stands apart from this power struggle, not out of weakness, but because raw, explosive speed grants it the privilege of writing its own rules. The cheetah, the fastest land animal on Earth, reaches 70 miles per hour in terrifying, explosive bursts of acceleration. But speed always exacts a heavy price. The cheetah's body is a masterwork of aerodynamics. 40 million years of evolution sculpted for one purpose: speed. A spine flexible as a spring, non-retractable claws gripping like cleats, a long tail balancing like a rudder. But even a fighter jet needs fuel. And the cheetah's fuel, like everything else on these plains, is water. Each chase lasts only 20 to 30 seconds. Body temperature spikes, muscles seize, and the body sheds enormous amounts of water. Success stands at 40 to 50% half the time. The cheetah runs to exhaustion and returns empty-handed. After every hunt, whether won or lost, the cheetah must drink immediately, and the moment it lowers its head to the waterhole, spent and unguarded, is the moment a lion or hyena steals the kill. Speed delivers the meal, but the thirst that follows speed, the desperate, all-consuming, vulnerable need for water, can take everything away. The Serengeti is only one piece in a far larger mosaic. The African savanna stretches from the Sahel to the Cape of Good Hope, sustaining more than 8,000 plant species and over 1,500 large mammal species. Everything from the smallest blade of grass to the largest elephant revolves around a single, unforgiving axis, the water cycle. When the rains end in the southern Serengeti, millions of creatures begin to move northward. The Great Migration is not an aimless wandering driven by instinct. It is the largest organized pursuit of water on the planet, a pilgrimage written in hooves and dust. 1.5 million wildebeest lead the procession, followed by zebras and Thompson's gazelles. They travel in a counterclockwise arc, chasing the rains as they shift northward. No maps, no leaders, no scouts sent ahead. Only genetic memory, etched deep across millions of years, and the scent of water carried on the wind. During the calving season, from January to March, roughly 500,000 wildebeest calves are born on the wide southern grasslands. They stand and run within mere minutes of birth. There is no alternative. In a land where predators outnumber patches of shade, to stand still is to die. Every calf learns this truth within its first breath. The Mara River, crossing the most perilous passage of the Great Migration, unfolds from July through October. Thousands crowd the steep banks, hesitate, then plunge in a surge of collective panic. Many drown, are crushed, or slip on the treacherous mudbanks. Carcasses drift downstream, feeding crocodiles, vultures, fish, and the riparian ecosystem for weeks. Their deaths are not meaningless. Each is a link in a nutrient chain that the current carries from grassland to river, from river to floodplain, sustaining millions of other organisms. And when the rains return to the south, the survivors turn back, retracing that blood-soaked path once more. Year after year, generation after generation, without ceasing. This is not blind instinct. It is a contract, millions of years old, between wildebeest and water, a covenant etched in genetics. Whoever breaks the contract dies. But the savanna has not always looked this way. Between 8 and 5 million years ago, this land was thick tropical forest. As the climate shifted, the trees retreated, yielding to boundless grassland. Grass, the most unremarkable of plants, rewrote the course of evolution. Animals had to run faster, see farther, and cooperate tightly to survive on open terrain with no cover. And it is water alone that dictates where grass grows, when it grows, and how much, thereby governing the entire food chain above. The wet season transforms the savanna into a refuge. Water pools scatter everywhere, prey disperses, and predators must work harder, no longer able to ambush at a single choke point. But that lush paradise never lasts. It was never meant to. The wildlands of Africa are shaped by timeless confrontations, and among them, the duel between lion and buffalo is the most tragic of epics. On one side, the continent's sovereign predator, an icon of ruthless strategy, reigning from the apex of the food pyramid. On the other, a colossal herbivore, possessing a primal power sufficient to reverse the roles, turning hunter into hunted. Lions have elevated the art of cooperation to a new level. Unlike other solitary great cats, their collective strength is the key to subduing formidable adversaries. The lionesses, with their blend of stamina and tactical discipline, are always the vanguard. Amidst the tall grasses, they move like invisible golden phantoms. Every movement is meticulously calculated. Each approach is a dance demanding absolute precision. The task is clear: to bring down a Cape buffalo, a giant that can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. But hunting buffalo is an entirely different game from hunting zebra. This is a gamble where the price of failure can be life itself. The moment the pride reveals itself, the entire savanna is instantly transformed into a battlefield. The ground trembles beneath the powerful hooves of the buffalo herd. Instead of scattering in panic, the herd responds like a well-drilled army. They form a protective circle around the young, lowering their heads in unison and pointing their horns outward, creating a fortress of flesh and bone. A single counterattack is all it takes to turn the tide of battle. The force of a buffalo's charge can hurl a fully grown lion into the air, shattering its ribs and inflicting wounds from which there is no recovery. But those horns are more than just weapons. They're a chronicle of its entire life. The broad, solid base of the horns, known as the boss, fuses together in mature males, forming a near impenetrable helmet. Even more astonishing is the buffalo's formidable memory, and an instinct that seems to border on a capacity for vengeance. There are documented cases of herds returning to relentlessly track down and retaliate against lions that had attacked them days before. This behavior goes far beyond simple self-defense. It has all the hallmarks of revenge. For a lion, a serious injury is not just painful. It is a death sentence. A weakened hunter is left behind, unable to join the chase and unable to survive. And yet, hunger drives the pride onward into this perilous hunt. Bringing down a single buffalo is a monumental prize, enough to feed the entire pride for many days. The outcome of the war between lion and buffalo is rarely decisive. More often, it ends in a bloody stalemate for both sides. There are times, however, when the pride strategy prevails, when coordination and patience culminate in an irresistible ambush. The lion may be the king of beasts, but when facing the buffalo, even a king must bow to the uncertainty of nature. The African savanna is one of the planet's most dramatic and expansive stages. From Kenya to Botswana, it stretches out like a seemingly endless golden carpet. On the surface, this landscape appears open and serene, but it is in fact a theater of nature, where every element plays a part in the great drama of survival. This is a world of brutal contrasts. Under the daylight sun, the ground is scorched and parched. When night falls, the heat gives way to a bone-chilling cold. The sheer vastness of the savanna creates an illusion of space. It seems infinite, yet it is also a trap, with no escape. For the creatures here, there is no true place to hide. In this open expanse, the strong cannot conceal their power, and the weak are always the first to fall. On this immense stage, every action is exposed under the unforgiving lens of creation. A single mistake, no matter how small, can become a death warrant. And in this land, with no room for error, life belongs only to those who can adapt faster than a heartbeat. On the African savanna, the passage of time is measured not in days and nights. The rhythm of life here follows two distinct seasons: the wet and the dry. When the rains arrive, the skies unleash furious deluges. In a matter of weeks, the arid landscape is resurrected into a sea of green. Grasses can shoot up to over 6 feet. Millions of wildebeest, zebra and gazelles pour onto the plains to feast on the abundance. But this prosperity also awakens the predators. Lions, cheetahs, leopards, and spotted hyenas seize the opportunity presented by the profusion of young prey. Then, the cycle reverses. The dry season descends like a consuming fire. The clear blue sky becomes an adversary, the sun baking the earth until it cracks. The green pastures vanish, leaving behind a brittle, yellowed vegetation that crumbles underfoot. Rivers shrink to stagnant pools. In the dry season, existence becomes a test of endurance. Animals must embark on arduous migrations in search of water and food. It is now that natural selection reveals its most ruthless nature. Only the most resilient individuals on this journey can hope to see the rains return. The African savanna is famed for its great herbivores, but it is the predators who are the deciding force in the balance of the entire ecosystem. Among them, 4 species have become iconic symbols of power, speed, intelligence, and ferocity: the lion, the leopard, the cheetah, and the spotted hyena. The lion is the embodiment of authority and collective strength. Unlike other solitary great cats, they live and hunt in organized prides. This social lifestyle has turned them into master strategists, capable of confronting large prey like zebra, wildebeest, and even buffalo. The leopard is an artist of stealth. Its coat is covered in dark rosettes, allowing it to blend perfectly into the shade of a tree or the dappled light of the bush. Its success comes from patience and individual might. It stalks its prey silently until the last possible moment, then launches its attack with a lethal explosion of power. Its signature move is the phenomenal strength to haul its kill, sometimes double its own body weight, high into the branches of a tree to keep its prize safe from competitors. The cheetah, by contrast, wagers everything on pure speed. It is the fastest land animal on Earth, capable of accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. However, the secret to its velocity lies in more than just its legs. Its spine is astonishingly flexible, acting like a giant spring, coiling and uncoiling to propel the body forward with each long stride. Its long, heavy tail is not for show. It acts as a rudder, allowing the cheetah to maintain its balance while making sharp turns at high speed. Its entire body is a masterpiece of biological engineering, built for a single purpose: explosive acceleration. But this specialization comes at a cost. The cheetah cannot maintain this top speed for long. After just a few seconds of sprinting, its body is overcome by exhaustion. The spotted hyena, often dismissed as a mere scavenger, is in fact one of the most successful hunters on the savanna. Its bite force is among the most powerful of all carnivorous mammals, strong enough to crush the largest bones. Contrary to popular belief, hyenas hunt most of their own food. They hunt in clans, relentlessly pursuing their quarry and running it to utter exhaustion. And their ferocity begins at birth. Hyena cubs are born with their eyes open and a full set of teeth. If they are twins, the struggle for life begins immediately. The infants will attack one another, sometimes to the death, just hours after being born, a behavior known as siblicide. In this cradle of death, only the strongest will survive to inherit the clan's legacy. These four predators prove that there is no single formula for survival. The lion succeeds through unity, the leopard through cunning, the cheetah through speed, and the hyena through the power of the clan. But the savanna's dominion is not confined to the ground. The sky has its own tyrants, winged predators whose shadows darken the sun, where power is decided not by claws on the earth, but by sight and a deadly silence from above. At the top of the aerial food chain is the martial eagle, Africa's most powerful avian predator. With a wingspan of over 6 feet and extraordinary vision, it surveys its domain from an incredible height. Once prey is spotted, it plummets like a black arrow, a fatal dive at terrifying speed. Its talons, with a grip strong enough to crush bone, make it an efficient executioner of prey, like young antelope, monkeys, or monitor lizards. But not all aerial tyrants rely on speed and brute force. In the wetlands bordering the savanna, a creature from a prehistoric age still reigns, the shoebill. With its ancient form and its cold, statuesque gaze, it is the personification of patience. It can stand motionless for hours, waiting for an unwary lungfish. Then, in an instant, the stillness is shattered by a lightning-fast strike, its enormous bill clapping shut with the sound of a machine gun. It is a hunting strategy honed over millions of years, a reminder that on the savanna, death can come in any form. If the predators command the stage with their authority, it is the herbivores that are the silent pillars of the African savanna. They are the architects of this ecosystem, reshaping the landscape with every step and ensuring the great cycle of life never stops. Each year, millions of wildebeest, zebra, and gazelles traverse the plains, creating invisible pathways through the vegetation. Their waste fertilizes the soil, returning vital nutrients for new plant growth. Each species plays a specialized role. Zebra graze on the tallest, toughest grasses, clearing the way for wildebeest to feed on the shorter layers. After them, gazelles nibble on the newest shoots, completing a chain of resource exploitation that could not be more efficient. But the life of an herbivore is not one of peaceful grazing. To survive, they have evolved acutely sensitive senses and remarkable collective behaviors. The herd is organized into a defensive formation, with the young protected at the center, while vigilant adults stand guard on the perimeter. The herbivores are not just prey. They are the unseen giants who nurture the land and maintain the fragile equilibrium of an entire ecosystem. Few spectacles in nature can match the majesty of the Great Migration on the African savanna. It is a performance on an epic scale, where millions of wildebeest, along with zebra and gazelles, undertake a journey of around 1,000 miles. This migration is not a simple movement. It is the very pulse of the savanna, an eternal cycle that dictates the life and death of countless species. It all begins in the Serengeti, as the dry season turns the lush green plains into a vast golden dust bowl. Slowly, the herds gather, as if obeying an unseen command. But that command is not entirely invisible. Scientists believe that wildebeest possess an extraordinary ability. They can sense rain from hundreds of miles away. They are not just searching for green grass. They are following the promise of coming rains. Their sensitive hearing can detect the low-frequency sound of distant thunder, guiding them on a journey built on faith in a wetter future. The sound of hooves, at first hesitant, soon merges into a single continuous thunder. This march is a brutal test of endurance. Calves are born on the move and must learn to stand within minutes, for the migration never stops. But the migration is not just a trek across an arid landscape. It is a journey into the territory of death. The Mara River is the most perilous trial. Its murky brown waters conceal Nile crocodiles, ancient giants lying in wait. As the first wildebeest plunge into the river, a scene of chaos erupts. Thousands of bodies push and shove against one another. Many are swept away by the strong current, while others fall to the jaws of the aquatic predators. Even on the far bank, the danger is not over. Lions, hyenas, and cheetahs lie in ambush, waiting for the exhausted animals. On this journey, unity is the ultimate weapon. Wildebeest move in enormous herds, turning the vulnerability of the individual into the strength of a collective wall. zebra join the throng, bringing their keen senses to spot predators and taking advantage of the safety in numbers. In essence, the migration is an invisible thread that connects the entire ecological web of the savanna. Year after year, generation after generation, the wildebeest follow the same path as if obeying an ancient oath. On the African savanna, herbivores are not passive victims. Each species has evolved its own set of skills and weapons for self-defense. The Thompson's gazelle is a prime example. Small and nimble, it can reach speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. But the secret to its survival lies in more than just speed. Its zigzagging run can confound even the fastest of predators. The zebra does not rely on a single strategy. In flight, it can reach 40 miles per hour, but its truly fearsome weapons are its back legs. Its hind legs are potent biological weapons. A single kick can break a predator's jaw, or even kill it. The giraffe, the tallest creature on land, possesses legs that are both long and dangerous. At nearly 6 feet long, they can deliver a kick with a force of 2,000 pounds. Its height is also a strategic advantage. Its eyes, positioned over 16 feet above the ground, allow it to spot enemies from miles away. But that height creates a seemingly impossible biological challenge. How does it get blood to its brain? A giraffe's heart is a marvel of engineering, weighing up to 25 pounds and generating blood pressure twice that of a human. Bending down to drink is a potentially fatal act for a giraffe. The immense blood pressure could rupture its brain. But it has a secret. The rete mirabile, a complex system of valves, blocks the rush of blood the moment it lowers its head. It is a G-suit, built into its very anatomy. Its entire circulatory system is a wonder of evolution. The warthog dashes through the savanna, its mane like an untamed tuft of grass. Its curved tusks are a vital shield against any foe. When pursued, it vanishes into its burrow with incredible speed. And in this arid land, this ungainly-looking creature is one of the most resilient. The oryx possesses perhaps the most impressive weaponry of all, a pair of long, straight horns that can measure over 3 feet. They look like swords, forged for battle. The wildebeest move like a dark, rolling wave, surging across the plains to the primal drumbeat of nature. In moments of life and death, its sturdy hooves pound the earth, carrying the fierce vitality of the great African migration. When attacked, a wildebeest will confront its aggressor head-on, using powerful shakes of its head to deliver blows that can pierce a lion's thick hide. And finally, the African buffalo, a behemoth that gives even the most courageous predators pause. Weighing nearly 2,000 pounds, with horns as hard as steel, it can turn any hunt into a nightmare. When threatened, it does not flee, it attacks. On the African savanna, where the horizon is always open, and there are few places to hide, survival demands more than just strength or speed. Many species have found their ultimate weapon in the art of camouflage and evasion. It is the ability to vanish in plain sight. The impala is one of the great masters. Its tan coat blends perfectly with the dry grass of the dry season and the lush vegetation of the wet. When it senses danger, it can freeze for minutes on end, becoming just another part of the landscape. Here, on the plains, an ancient riddle presents itself, written in black and white. For decades, we believed these stripes were a form of camouflage. a visual illusion to confuse lions. But the truth is far more subtle and aimed at a smaller, yet more persistent, enemy. To the eyes of the blood-sucking tsetse fly, this is not an animal. It is a disruptive matrix of polarized light. A kind of optical armor that makes it almost impossible for them to find a place to land. This is not just defense. It is a genius solution to a million-year-old problem, etched permanently onto its very skin. To the eyes of this blood-sucking fly, it is a confounding matrix of polarized light that prevents a landing. A brilliant solution to a daily problem, written upon the skin. On the African savanna, communication is a weapon just as powerful as horns or speed. Many herbivores have developed complex alarm systems, capable of turning a simple sound into a signal of survival for the entire community. It is a common language of sounds, gestures, and even scents, linking different species in an invisible defensive network. The impala is perhaps the best example. When it spots a predator, it lets out a piercing bark that can be heard from hundreds of yards away. That sound acts as an alarm call, not just for other impala, but also for zebra, wildebeest, and even birds. The wildebeest, for its part, uses deep, sonorous calls that echo across the plains. The response is instantaneous. Thousands of individuals will bunch together and begin to move as one, creating a constantly shifting wall of bodies. On the savanna, the future of every species is wagered on the survival of its young. Fragile, naive, and vulnerable, they are at once a source of hope and a critical weakness. The giraffe is a striking example. Although its height helps it detect enemies from a distance, its calf is still an easy target for lions and hyenas. To protect her offspring, a mother will use her most powerful weapons, her hind legs. A single kick can fell a predator in an instant. Hippos, though they spend most of their lives in the water, are also devoted mothers. Their calves always swim right beside them. If a crocodile approaches, the response is immediate. The mother will attack with a bite powerful enough to splinter a wooden boat. Elephants are perhaps the most impressive protectors of all. Living in clans led by experienced matriarchs, they are the ultimate guardians. When danger nears, the adults form a circle around the young, placing them at the center of a living citadel. This collective strategy turns the herd into a near impenetrable fortress. On the Savanna, protecting the young is a behavior forged not merely by instinct, but by millennia of necessity. The African savanna is more than just a stage for breathtaking scenery. It is an arena of ceaseless struggle, where every dawn writes new stories of courage, intelligence, and survival. Here, no victory is permanent, and no defeat is final. The dance of life continues, from one generation to the next, ensuring this wild drama will never have a final curtain.